And we'll continue here in English here at the Vasa Arts and Science Carnival and our stage here at Ritz. And next up, we will hear from Paula Linna, project manager and postdoctoral researcher at the University of Vasa, and Silvia Gajani, senior researcher at the Ruralia Institute of the University of Helsinki. And both will actually be online today, joining us at Zoom. Paula and Silvia will talk about building sustainable food systems in Kenya. Their presentation tells us about the needs and challenges of sustainable food systems and highlights the different type of actors who strive to create sustainable local food innovation in Kenya. They will also talk about the role of the Finnish food industry and what it could play in building a sustainable food system in the global south. And as I said, both are joining us online. And I think we have, is this Paula we have there? Can you hear us?
Yes, Paula and Silvia, we are both here.
You are both there, great. And I will just have to warn you, because as you are presenting and as we as you are presenting, you will see yourselves in the camera. But please go ahead.
Okay, I try to. Maybe we can start by introducing ourselves, and then I share photo presentation at the same time. So maybe Silvia, you can start.
Sure. Thank you, Paula, and thank you everyone for being here this morning and taking time to listen to us. Actually, right now, I apologize for not being there, but I'm currently in Bologna, which is my hometown. So I'm Italian, working for Ruralia Institute, and I live between Seinäjoki and Bologna. Actually, I started to work for Ruralia Institute almost 3 years ago. Before joining Ruralia, I was working for UN agencies. So I was working for FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. I was working for UNEP, United Environmental Agency, and WMO, which is the World Meteorological Organization. And what I'm currently doing at Ruralia Institute is leading a 5-year research on food entrepreneurship, innovation, and sustainability in Finland and in the Nordic countries. So why, my interest for Africa? Because I can see there are many opportunities, to launch new ideas, to start new businesses around food in Africa and specifically in Kenya. And this is why the idea of starting projects and even a course connected to Kenya came from. But I guess me and Paula will tell about the course and some other important information later on. I would now leave the floor to Paula to introduce herself. So Paula, over to you.
Yes, thank you. So I work at the Vasa University, but I'm based in Seinäjoki, and there I've been in different projects concerning sustainability, and also now working with Silvia in this kind of food industry project on, and as we said that we also have a course now that we have been running between Helsinki University, Vasa University, and Strathmore University in Kenya about this kind of a food entrepreneurship and food innovations. And for me also, Kenya is my family's second home country, so we visit there every year, and I have also been happy that I've been able to combine this to my work, that I try to establish connections to Vasa University into Kenyan, with Kenyan actors, universities and companies and so on, and provide our students and researchers opportunities there. And now we are discussing a little bit about the course that it ended this week, that we were teaching with Silvia. And some of the findings of that. And then in the meantime, I'm also showing some photos photos from Kenya relating to this food industry. So basically, yeah, maybe you could, Sylvia, say that why we saw a need for this kind of a course between Finnish and Kenyan universities, and what we learned about that.
Yeah, thank you, Paula. So actually, our course is in the framework of UNIPID network, which is a network of Finnish universities providing education for sustainable development, but also, in general, for cooperation. And actually, when me and Paula joined the forces, and we were thinking about an interesting course to develop, the first idea that came into our mind was really to focus on Kenya and what is really going on there around food entrepreneurship and food innovation, because we really think that not much is known about Africa in general, but also especially concerning food innovation and entrepreneurship in Africa and specifically in Kenya. So we joined the forces with another colleague from University of Helsinki, Antti Autio, and we got in touch with the Strathmore University from Kenya. And actually, we came together, we developed the course, and we started to teach in September. And the audience was made up of Finnish and Kenyan students, so Finnish students from a different range of Finnish universities and Kenyan students from Strathmore University. So they were taking the class together, they were brainstorming together, there were some group assignments that they had to do together, really so to promote interaction in a way between Finland and Kenya. And actually the aim of the course was to compare, what is currently Finland doing in terms of developing new business models, new food products, and what currently is going on in Kenya. And many interesting data came out from the project. We really got to understand what is the current food environment and food culture in Kenya, what is currently going on in terms of innovation. There is a whole range of new food products, new tools, for example, to reduce food loss and waste, for example, new machines powered by solar power, which are currently being developed in order to support farmers, not to waste and to lose most of their crops. So what came out was an interesting discussion and comparison about a Finnish approach, a Kenyan approach to food. And we really got to understand that in the end, the two approaches, although one from the north and one from the south, they don't differ so much. So maybe, I don't know, Paula, over to you if you want to go a little bit into details, telling, for example, what the course has brought up, because I think it was an enrichment for not only the students, but also for the teachers.
Yeah, I think that what was the purpose also of the course, that we would like to establish like a deeper connections between Finnish actors and Kenyan food actors, and this was a good way to start a collaboration, and we see there are a lot of opportunities also for Finnish food companies. That how I feel that many of the Kenyan food innovations, and especially I've been studying this kind of a plant-based industry, they are developed by small entrepreneurs, and they are like available this kind of cashew milk and cashew cheese and all kind of like plant-based patties and so on. But what is the challenge for them is like how to scale up these production, that now they are mainly made by like almost like artisan products, so they are quite expensive for the mass market. And of course, like in Nairobi, they are very, very high level people who are earning a lot and wealthy healthy middle class and of course huge expatriate community, so who are the customers of this kind of new food innovations. But how to scale up them? Then you would need to have like a mass production facilities, and I feel that is the challenge to really to scale up these food innovations that already exist there. And that is perhaps one of the things that we are also been discussing with Silvia, that would it be possible to establish some kind of a food hub between like Finnish and Kenyan partners, and what we could do together, and maybe share the knowledge that we have here in the Nordics relating to modern production facilities and so on. Do you want to tell more about that?
Actually, what I think it's quite interesting is what you said about Kenya, that entrepreneurs may have a hard time in scaling up and going on the global market. But I think in some ways, this is also a challenge that Finnish food entrepreneurs may face, especially at the beginning of their activities when their companies have just been established. So, I mean, this is something maybe the two countries may have in common. Definitely, Finland has a good scientific expertise and, of course, education provided by Finnish universities, and also, the policy and the framework of the food system in Finland can facilitate the scaling up and the promotion of food startups. But still, scaling up, going on the market, it's something both food companies from Kenya and Finland may have in common. And here, as Paula was saying, the idea of establishing a food hub, which is currently has not really been developed yet, but it's among our plans, and we are looking for funding opportunities and also getting in touch with the food entrepreneurs, food companies, and also funding sources, because we really think that it would be interesting to have a place where people can meet, can discuss, have brainstorming, they can get trained, they can get above all information, because we really think that information is one of the main assets that are needed by entrepreneurs when they start a new activity. So in our plan, this food hub should start soon, depending on how much funding we are able to find. But FAO would be already interested in joining us in promoting the activities of the food hub. And definitely, we are checking with food entrepreneurs from the two countries how to proceed and how to go on. There is a whole potential around the food innovation and food sustainability. And I think it would be a shame, not to exploit and not to go deeper into potential collaboration between the two countries.
Yes, and I would also like to add that when we think about the whole food production value chain, so currently it's more like the Finnish companies are like importing the raw materials from several African countries like tea, coffee beans, cacao, and so on. And then the processing is happening in Finland. So why not to have like more processing facilities already in these African countries? And then there would be more value addition also for the local actors, being it small scale farmers who would earn more, or then like these local enterprises and so on. And also, if we think about the food industry in Finland, so the sustainability and the traceability of the whole value chain is becoming more and more important also because of the European Union legislation. So this could be also one area of collaboration of this kind of food hub, that you would not only import the raw materials, but try to do some processing already in these countries and develop maybe new like food innovations together. And maybe, how about then, Silvia? We've been also listening our students' presentation about the food innovation, what is happening in this country. So would you like to raise up a few examples of African food innovation that you have found interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed when the students made and find out, actually, because there was a lot of background research involved. When they found out about the most recent innovations in food, which are currently going on in Kenya. And I think one striking example for me was a solar freeze. Actually, this solar freeze, it's a cold storage unit. So what you actually see, it's like a metal box. And on the top of the metal box, there are solar panels that keeps the box refrigerated. And actually, it's an excellent way for farmers or rural smallholders to keep their perishable products in a safe place. So refrigerated in a safe place. And actually, this all storage metal box really helps to reduce food waste because, I mean, food products are kept cold. And actually, it has been proved that it can reduce agricultural waste by 90%. And of course, it can reduce malnutrition because, of course, more food is on the market. And I think it's really interesting because it was established around 6 or 7 years ago in 2016. And since its start, now it's already been used by more than 3,000 farmers in Kenya. And the interesting thing is that 80% of these farmers are women. So this is definitely improving, the way farmers can work and can reduce food waste. I think another interesting innovation relates to new foods. And one of them is actually called InsectiPro, and it's a company that has been established in Kenya 5 years ago. And it produces insects, as new way of providing proteins on the market. And actually, the food that is created by this company are flies for animal feed and crickets for human consumption. Crickets are a big source of protein and they are rich in them. And so the company produces a snack made up of these small insects, which tastes really good. And actually, it's a way in this case, to promote a circular economy, again, to reduce organic waste, and actually to improve the current nutrition level in Kenya. And actually, the very last innovation that really struck me was this hermetic storage bag. So it's basically a bag, very well sealed, which is made up of polypropylene and has a little bit of plastic inside, so to reduce the oxygen that can deteriorate the food crops, and increase inside carbon dioxide that can reduce insect activities on the food inside the bag. So even in this case, this hermetic bag, they can reduce post-harvest losses and can help to provide more food security to farmers, but also to the country, to Kenya in general. So different examples of innovation in terms of refrigerated box, in terms of hermetic bags that can keep products in a good shape, and new food products like these insects snack. These are just a few examples, but there is much more I could talk about. And I was really impressed by the good level and the good technology that food entrepreneurs in Kenya have and use, really to tackle concretely daily problems that everyone, from farmers to consumers, may face in their daily life. Paula, maybe, I don't know if you have to add something. Was there an innovation that really impressed you, for example?
Well, I have also listed here a couple of Kenyan brands, and then this is one Nigerian that have been able to commercialize their food innovations or food products. So I was just, sorry about this, like raising up, for example, that's just more, and this is a company founded by a Kenyan lady, and they are producing like cashew milks and different kind of smoothies and this kind of super food, and then also doing this kind of juices and so on. And they are also having a couple of their own coffee places, and then they are collaborating with one national-wide like a art cafe coffee chain where they are selling their products. And this is also very interesting that it's the lady was interested like eating more healthy and finding this kind of a plant-based food, but it was not so easily available. So she started to create them by herself. And this is quite a common story of this kind of food innovations, that there have been some people who have tried to find like different kind of products for special diets. And if they are not available locally, so then they try to create them themselves. And of course, they are like this kind of foreign brands, but they are also quite expensive. Then as Silvia already mentioned, that there are quite many innovations among the whole value chains. And then I was thinking also this kind of a hello tractor that is a little bit like the Uber that we have in Finland and globally, but they are like renting the tractors for the small scale farmers. And it can be like an individual farmer who is renting it, or then like a cooperative that is renting the tractors, and then they are able to increase their productivity. But I think that our time is running up, so if there is some questions from the audience, we are very passionate about this topic, so I think we could continue very long.
Yes, thank you, Silvia and Paula. Very interesting. Do we have questions here in the audience? Anyone wanting to raise their hand right now? And we will give you a microphone. And if not quite yet, I have a question for you. How can Finnish or European food companies, well, you said this to me in advance, that how can they stop treating African countries as sources of raw materials? So the raw materials being tea, coffee, cacao, cashew. So how can they stop treating African countries as sources of raw materials and instead aim to add more value in the value chain in African countries? Could either of you open up what you think about this question?
Well, I think that as we mentioned already a little bit, like the topic, that we would like to have this kind of a food hub and create together this kind of food innovations and like a joint processes. So like the part of the food production and the processing would happen in these African countries. And then the small scale farmers and the different actors in the value chains would have more value for them and like earn more about the end products. Like now they are just paid by the raw materials instead of like the other value addition part of the product.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
If I may add something, I think, the work that needs to be done is on two sides. Because actually Kenya was occupied by the British, let's call it colonization, but anyway was under the British until 1963. So, I mean, the colonial past is quite recent in Kenya. And I have to say that one of the many outcomes of the colonial time in Kenya was that Kenyans were brought to think that their local food, local produces, they were not as good as the European ones. The colonial presence really imposed on Kenyans some specific crops so that the number of Kenyan crops was reduced. And really there was a kind of change in mentality even among Kenyans. I think now, what is needed to be done, and it's already something happening, is really letting Kenyans understand the big potential their food market can have on one side, and on the Finnish side really understand that it's not only about exploiting local resources, but it's really more about co-creating with the excellent minds and the excellent entrepreneurs that are currently present in Kenya, because there is a lot that we don't know. And so again, as I said before, information I think is key. Information about the market, information about what is currently going on in both countries. And it's only by getting to know the two markets that new potentials and new business models, food innovation can be created.
Thank you so much, Silvia and Paula. And I think if anyone's interested in learning more, they can be in touch with you. And I thank you so much. We will give you a round of applause here in Vasa.
Thank you.
Thank you.